All right, good morning, everybody. Thank you for those of you in the room for coming and for those of you online for joining. I'm going to go ahead and call the October 16th, 2025 Bureau of Household Goods and Services Advisory Council meeting to order. My name is Claire Goldstein and I am the Deputy Chief at the Bureau. This morning our meeting is a hybrid. We have council members, staff, and members of the public in the room, and then we also have people joining on WebEx. So the first thing I'm going to do is just take a roll call for council members. Pascal Beniamini.
Good morning, present.
Good morning. Bert Grimes. How do I saw Bert? Bert, are you with us?
There he is.
Oh, there he is. Okay, gotcha.
Mic's not working.
All right. Okay. Tom Keepers.
Here.
Sarah East Afton. Dan Rhodes.
Here, present. Good morning.
Good morning. Toby Taylor.
Good morning, I'm here.
Good morning. And Steve Whiteman.
Present.
Good morning. Steve is with us. Okay, thank you, everybody. I also want to welcome, we have a number of DCA staff here, all of whom are joining on WebEx. We have, I apologize, Ian, if I mispronounce your name. We have Ian Gallagher, representing DCA's Board Bureau Relations. We have Jennifer Tompkins and Suzanne Balkus from the DCA Budget Office. We have Ann Southbury in the room, sorry about that, filling in as the Bureau's legal counsel. We have Christy Shields, the DCA Regulatory Counsel for the Bureau on WebEx. And always we have Ann Fisher, who is our guide through WebEx. And so just to give people a heads up about how the comment will work, we'll ask council members in the room first if they have any comment on items, then we'll ask council members online if there are comments, and we'll do that same thing for public comment. And do you mind walking people through how the public can make comments today on WebEx?
Certainly. So if you are logged in on a computer, the bottom row of the screen should show a bunch of controls. One of those is the hand icon, and that will, if you click that, it'll let you raise your hand and keep your hand raised until we call on you. If you're on a call, if you're a call-in user, you'll press *3 to raise your hand. And if you happen to be on a mobile device, you might have to hit the 3-dot other options to find that hand icon. So we'll do our best to go in the order that hands were raised, and each speaker will have 3 minutes with a 30-second warning. I'd be happy to time comments in the room as well if you'd like me to.
Oh, okay, thank you. I think I'll do that part, but thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay, and then just a couple of housekeeping things for those in the room. I just want to note that there are 2 exits to the room in case we have to get out. And also the restrooms are back at the lobby where you checked in. You go through the lobby and go to the left. And most likely we will take a break at some point during the meeting just so everybody can stretch. And so I just want to mention a couple things before we go on with the agenda. I first want to introduce Chaz Rafredi, who recently joined the Bureau as the Chief of Administration and Licensing, but she's really stepped in to help across a number of areas of the Bureau in her short time here. So I just wanted to give her an opportunity to introduce herself to the council.
Hi, good morning. My name is Chaz Rafredi. What can I say? I have about 20 years of California state experience with about 7 different departments and agencies. More recently, I spent about 10 years with the Air Resources Board and their enforcement division overseeing their admin team. And that's it. And I'm very happy to be here. So far, I'm on month 3, almost right there at the anniversary of 3 months. And I'm looking forward to digging in more.
Great, thank you. Super happy to have her with us, so thank you. And then I really do just want to take the opportunity to just extend my thanks to all the staff at the Bureau. for all their hard work over the last number of months since the council last met in May. Obviously, you'll be hearing more about that work in more detail as we go through the updates for each unit. But staff have really been juggling a number of long-term large projects, whether it's the website redesign or the transition to Connect or Chaz's favorite topic, the fee study. So there's a lot of big projects going on, and people have been asked to help with those and provide input while also keeping up with their day-to-day work. And so I just really want to extend a big thanks to all the Bureau staff. And then lastly, I just want to make a note about the agenda. We are going to take one item out of order. We're going to take the enforcement update, which is agenda item 10, and we're going to move it up. And it's going to come between agenda items, after agenda item 6, which is reviewing the May council meeting, and before Kelly provides the admin update. Alda needs to make a virtual court appearance, and so we want to make sure that she has sufficient time to get there on time. Otherwise, she won't be in trouble. I will be in trouble. So we definitely want to make sure that this happens. So for very selfish reasons. So, okay. And then I'm just going to go over briefly some do's and don'ts for public comment. This is agenda item 2, public comment for items not on the agenda. If you have an application, a complaint, or a disciplinary charge pending before the Bureau, I'm going to ask that you not discuss the details of your case or your pending complaint. If your comments are related to a specific agenda item, you can make your comments now, but you may also want to wait until that item comes up for discussion. And please note, we will ask for public comment before concluding each item on the agenda. And as Ann said, we'll limit public comment to 3 minutes. Any comments from council members in the room?
None.
None. Any comments from council members online? Okay. We have no public in the room, so skip that. Any comments from members of the public online?
And this is the moderator. You are welcome to raise your hand by clicking on that hand icon, and we can display instructions on the screen. If you would like to, and you are on a mobile device, that hand icon might be behind the 3-dot other options, and any call-in users can press *3 to raise their hand. Any comments on any item that is not already on the agenda? I do not see any raised hands. I will turn the meeting back to you, Ms. Goldstein.
Thank you. Okay, so we'll move on to agenda item 3. This is an update from DCA's Board Bureau Relations. And Ian Gallagher is going to provide that update, and he is joining us on the WebEx.
Hello. Let's see if we can get the camera going. There we go.
You're all set?
All right. Thank you, everybody. My name is Ian Gallagher. I'm with the California Department of Consumer Affairs with the Division of Legislative Affairs, and I just want to thank everybody for the opportunity to join you today. There's 4 items that I'll be going over briefly, so it shouldn't take too long, and I'll just dive right into it. So the first item is the new Board and Bureau Relations team. We are very excited to announce that Governor Newsom appointed 2 new members to the department's executive team. Lucy Saldivar has been appointed as the Board and Bureau Relations Deputy Director and will join the department on October 20th. Lucy has served as Chief of Staff in the Office of Assembly Member Lisa Calderon since 2022 and Legislative Director from 2021 to 2022. She also held multiple roles in the Office of Assembly Member Jackie Irwin from 2017 to 2021. Lucy is a member of the Hope Leadership Institute and the California Latino Capital Association Foundation. Shelley Jones began serving as the new Assistant Deputy Director of Board and Bureau Relations on September 25th. Shelley brings 29 years of experience working with boards and gubernatorial appointees. She has been with the department since 2015, serving in several capacities with Board and Bureau Relations, as well as DCA's strategic organizational leadership and individual development and organizational improvement offices. Prior to joining DCA, she served in multiple roles at the Juvenile Parole Board, of the California Department of Corrections. We're very excited to have our new DBR team in place to serve and assist our boards and bureaus. So the second item is the Board Member Orientation Week. So as you may remember, Board Member Orientation, or BMOT, must be completed within 1 year of appointment and reappointment to the Bureau. Our next session will be held on October 22nd. We are working to schedule 2026's training dates. Advisory Council members can register for BMOT using DCA's Learning Management System, or LMS. Please reach out to the Board and Bureau Relations with any questions or if assistance is needed in accessing training in LMS. So the third item is the annual report. Now, the annual report is one of DCA's biggest projects. Staff work on this report throughout the year, gathering information and statistical data in order to compile a comprehensive report about the department's actions to submit to the legislature. On behalf of the director, thank you to Bureau staff for your efforts and contributions. Published to the DCA website late this summer, the annual report has a wealth of information and memorializes all the great work done by so many throughout the department. DCA encourages members to take time to review it and use it as a resource. And the final item is Cybersecurity Awareness Month. October is Cybersecurity Awareness Month, and a time the department works to raise awareness about digital security and staying safe online. As our lives and business operations become more digital, the opportunities for cybercriminals increase. Threats like phishing, ransomware, and identity theft are no longer rare isolated events. They're daily risks that DCA works hard to mitigate. This Cybersecurity Awareness Month, DCA is reminding all boards and bureaus to think before you click. One small click can have big consequences. Here's 4 quick tips to help you stay safe. 1, think before you click. Don't open links or attachments from unknown sources. Update regularly. Keep software and devices updated. Patch known vulnerabilities. 3, use strong passwords. The stronger the password, the harder it is to crack. And 4, back it up. Regularly back up your data to a secure location, especially if you're using non-DCA owned devices. Please remember, cybersecurity is everyone's responsibility. Should you encounter suspicious emails or other activities, please report it immediately to your bureau chief. Your actions help us take swift action to protect everyone. If you have any questions, please contact Board and Bureau Relations. And that's all I have. Thank you so much for letting me join you today. And please let me know if you have any questions or any need of assistance.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ian. Before we ask for any comment, I just want to add a couple of things to what Ian mentioned. I know that one council member, I'm not going to name any names, Steve, is having some difficulty registering for the mandatory training. So if you are having trouble, can you please, as Ian said, either reach out to Board Bureau Relations or reach out to me and I can try to resolve that. My understanding is they went ahead and registered you, so I think you're good. And then the other thing I just want to mention that this is something we talked about, I think, at the May Council meeting, but I want to make sure everyone knows that Governor Newsom's proposed reorganization for the Business Consumer Services, I forget what that, housing agency, that split that he proposed was ultimately approved, and that takes effect in January of 2026. So it splits I have it written down. Business Consumer Services and Housing Agency is going to become 2 separate agencies. So there will be the California Housing and Homelessness Agency, and then there will be the Business and Consumer Services Agency. So no agency secretaries for the Business and Consumer Services has yet been announced, and that's obviously where DCA and the Bureau will end up being. We do not, as we mentioned last May, we do not anticipate that this will really change operations for the Bureau in, kind of day to day. And there is an expectation that it will help us by grouping us with other state agencies that are consumer focused. And it makes a lot of sense in that way. So I don't have any further update on that beyond what I've shared, but I just wanted to add that to Ian's comments. So with that, are there any comments from council members in the room? No. Any comments from council members online about Ian's update? Sorry, this is really challenging. I don't see any. Okay. We have no public, so any comments? And can you ask if there are any comments from members of the public online?
Certainly. If anyone would like to make a comment on the DCA update, you can look for the hand icon and click that to raise your hand. And if you are a call-in user, you can press *3 to raise your hand. Are there any comments on the DCA update? I do not see any raised hands. Shall I close that public comment feature?
Yes, please. Thank you, Anne.
You're welcome.
Okay, so we'll move to agenda item 4, which is the fiscal update. And that will be Jennifer Tompkins and Suzanne Balkus from the UCA Budgets Office, who are also joining us on WebEx. So I will hand it over to the two of you.
Great, thank you. And I just want to make sure you guys can hear me okay.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. Good morning. My name is Jennifer Tompkins, and I'm a budget analyst with DCA. I'm here with Suzanne Balkus, my budget manager. I also want to thank the Bureau and Advisory Council members for allowing me time to present today. I'm here to present the 2024-25 fiscal month 13 fund condition. Please refer to agenda item 4, page 2 of your meeting materials. The attached fund condition statements are based on the 2025 Budget Act. So we read this document top to bottom, then left to right. The left column is prior year, and that would begin with 0 since the transfer to the new fund occurred in 2024-25. For 24-25 prior year, this is based on fiscal month 13, the Bureau collected about 11.4 million in revenue. There was a revenue transfer to Motor Carrier Safety Improvement Fund of negative 21,000. There was a transfer from 0325 fund to 3438 for about 1.15 million. There was a transfer from 0752 to 3438 of about 4.23 million. And there was also a transfer from 3315 to 3438 for about 7.11 million. The Bureau's expenditures for 2024-25 based on fiscal month 13 are approximately 12.98 million. That gives you a fund balance of 10.86 million, which is about 8.8 months in reserve. Current year is based on Budget Act. The Bureau is projected to collect approximately 12.2 million in revenue, and there is an additional revenue transfer to Motor Carrier Safety Improvement Fund of negative 21,000. The Bureau's 2025-26 projected expenditures are at 14.8 million between authorized expenditures and direct draws to the fund, leaving the Bureau with a fund balance of 8.2 million or about 6.5 months in reserve. The Bureau is estimating additional transfers in 2025-26 from the 3 funds' remaining balance. To note, these amounts could change since the funds are open for any prior year unpaid or late invoices. And based on SB 814, all remaining balance transfers should occur prior to July 1st, 2026. And just a few things to note on the Bureau's fund condition. The fund condition is a snapshot in time and thus only reflects the data used in its creation. One of the main factors driving expenditure increases in the future is a result of personal service adjustments. These include general salary increases as well as employee compensation and retirement rate adjustments. The Budget Office includes an ongoing 3% increase to expenditures on the fund condition statement to account for these ongoing incremental adjustments. And the fund condition does not include increased enforcement expenditures, which could create additional cost pressure to the Bureau's fund in out years. The Budget Office will continue to work with the Bureau on any future resource needs. Months in reserve will go down in out years as we project revenues to remain constant and expenditures to increase by the 3% mentioned previously. And lastly, we would like to note to the Bureau that any future legislation or unanticipated events could result in the Bureau's need for additional resources, which would increase pressure on the fund. The Budget Office will continue to monitor the Bureau's fund condition statement and keep the line of communication open with the Bureau's chief for any future needs or expectations.
Great. Thank you so much, Jennifer. And then before we open that up to public and council member comment, I just want to briefly walk everyone through pages 3 and 4 of the packet. And just to emphasize one of the points that Jennifer made, which is that we are still in the process of finalizing fund consolidation, which was part of the Bureau's last sunset. Jennifer mentioned that it's SB 814. That was the Bureau's sunset bill. And so as she mentioned, there are additional funds in the 3 separate accounts that have not yet been transferred into that consolidated fund. And right now that is approximately 5.7 million, although as she said, that could change if there are outstanding accounts payable that need to be paid out of those funds. But those funds should be transferred sometime during the current fiscal year. So that will increase the Bureau's months in reserve, but nonetheless, the trend continues that we will most likely see an increase in expenses for some of the reasons that Jennifer mentioned, and a static revenue. So the Bureau also generally reverts about $3 million a year. We try to be very fiscally prudent and responsible, but because of those increased expenses, we're anticipating that will drop probably closer to 1 to 1.5 million. And so in 2026, the Bureau will begin writing the sunset report for the next sunset. And as part of that, we are working on a fee study, which Chaz is becoming very familiar with all of that. And we're working on that. We're going to be working with the DCA Budgets Office on putting that together. And we will look at our fees, and we will have to determine how those fees relate to the costs at the Bureau, and whether or not any fee increases will be recommended. And that will be part of the fee study, and then part of sunset. But trying to anticipate, as Jennifer said, the next number of years going out, and what looks like a structural deficit. So I just wanted to mention that. And then lastly, just on page 4, you can see this is something that council members had asked for. This shows the revenue by program for the 2024-25 fiscal year. So with that, are there any comments from council members in the room on
Yes.
the fiscal update?
Yes.
Steve.
So when we think about a fee study, I mean, the simplest solution, or what appears to be the simplest solution to the problem, is in increasing fees. We've got a situation where revenues remain relatively static and expenses are increasing, and expectedly so, and rightfully so. People are entitled to get an increase, and everything costs more. But I would caution people about thinking that the best opportunity is an increase in fees, because an increase in fees can also result in a decrease in participation, which would drop that down even more. And I think that, at least in the program that I'm familiar with, there is a huge opportunity for increasing the base to add more people, and increasing those fees may detract from that, as well as prevent others from joining that. So I would be really cautious, because I know the simplest way, and sometimes people that aren't in the private sector don't have that realization that the flow of revenue is not endless.
Right. And so before we open it up to public comment online, I just respond to that. That is absolutely something that we've already actually started to have internal conversations about. And the other thing too is that some of the fees at the Bureau have not been increased in over 10 years. And there's been a lot of increased expense in that time. And so because the Bureau regulates these different industries, it is entirely possible that if we do end up recommending a fee increase, it may not be for all programs. It may not be equivalent for all programs, because that's part of the work that the people that are working on the fee study will have to figure out. So it will be a deep dive into each program and the parts of each program and what is and isn't appropriate. And I can absolutely assure you that there is a concern and an awareness at the Bureau that we do not want to create additional barriers to people getting a license by making the fees unreasonable. So.
And we'd like to assist in any way that we can.
Okay. Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you. Are there comments from council members online?
Yeah, hey all, this is Tom Keepers. Just wanted to echo those sentiments. In doing a fee study, the hope is that there's a consideration of the nature of the work and that maybe some of the work could be scoped differently. And I'll be a bull in the china shop here a little bit on, so for example, to the extent that you are reviewing a consumer contract of some kind, are there themes over time that you find that are common issues in the contract so that you focus your review there, and then, other areas of the form which never seem to have any problems, you can kind of expedite? So I'm just thinking about whether there's a process improvement opportunity in the fee study as well. So thank you.
Yeah, so I appreciate that comment, and that is also, and I would just like to say the thing that you're talking about, I was going to say my hope, but I can't even say my hope. I know that those kinds of conversations are going on all the time, separate of the fee study, right? Is there a way we can do something better? Is there a way we can make something easier, make this less onerous for staff, find a better way to do it? So those conversations are happening all the time, and the fee study just gives us another opportunity to really focus on that. So I appreciate that. Any other comments online? No, okay. Anne, would you mind checking if there's any public comment on the fiscal update?
Absolutely. If anyone would like to make a comment, you may look for the hand icon, typically at the bottom of the WebEx screen if you're on a computer, or if you're on a mobile device, the hand might be behind the 3-dot other options. Each speaker will get 3 minutes with a 30-second warning. Any comments on the budget report? I do not see any raised hands. I can turn it back to you.
Okay, thank you, Anne. Okay, so we are going to move on to agenda item 5, which is the business modernization update, otherwise known as the Joy That Is Connect. So I am going to be sharing this presentation with Chris Sanchez, who has been working full-time on Connect and has become our resident expert. So I'm just going to share some information about the overall status of the project, and then Chris is going to review the wireframe, the draft of the ear hefty renewal that is in your packet beginning on page 9. I do just want to, I think Chris will mention this too, but hopefully people receive the updated page 11. There was a little mix-up in the packet. And then Chris is also going to provide an update on some of the work he's doing to develop other parts of Connect beyond renewal. But I do just want to note a couple of updates since the council last met in May. So we have launched the complaint form on Connect, which allows, we had an online complaint form, but the real improvement with the Connect complaint form is that it allows consumers to attach all their supporting documentation to that complaint. So to your point, Tom, about finding better ways to do things. So this has definitely made things a lot easier for staff. They don't have to have multiple email exchanges with the person filing the complaint to get those documents. They can all come with the complaint itself, and that's been a big improvement. And then the other updates relate specifically to household movers, since that's the program we have on Connect. Automatic notifications for upcoming insurance lapses and expired insurance have been ongoing. The staff has broken that up into types of insurance to make that more manageable. So notifications are going out for each separate type of insurance in a staggered fashion. We also have automatic notifications through Connect if your license is about to be suspended, as well if it has been suspended. We also made some important updates to the interstate only application related to registration with the Secretary of State. And there were also improvements made to the format and the content of the email messages that applicants and licensees receive to try to make things clearer, to reduce phone calls and confusion. A couple other things are in process for household movers. That will be an automatic notification related to quarterly report deadlines, which should happen, I believe, at the end of October. There will also be a link to those quarterly report deadlines that will appear on the licensee dashboard. And there are other maintenance forms that will come online for household movers to cancel a license, go on to voluntary suspension, change a qualifier. And then one of the big priorities recently has been to map out what the renewal for Ear and Hufty will look like on Connect. And so I am going to turn it over to Chris, who will go over the wireframe for that.
Thank you, Claire. Hi, everyone. My name is Chris, and I will be walking you through the renewal wireframe for Ear and Hufty. The wireframe reflects how users will move through each step and complete their submission. You will notice some Lorem Ipsum placeholder text throughout, and that's simply used to show where real content or instructions will eventually go. And please note, we've identified an error on page 11. This page should contain the business information tab and not the fee and payment screen. On page 9 is the Connect dashboard, where users see a snapshot of their license and what actions are pending. This section also shows the status of the license and the license number. Once the license is ready to renew, users will see a Renew option under the Actions column. The Links and Resources section provide quick access to helpful documents, guides, and frequently asked questions. The Applications section displays the type of application the user has selected and its status. In this case, it's a renewal application. In the Notifications section, users will see reminders and updates sent to them via phone and email. And once the license is ready to renew, users will click on the Renew option and proceed. On page 10, the General Information tab answers common questions about the application, helping users understand costs and the requirements before proceeding. Once the user has read through this section, they will click the Save and Continue button and proceed to the Business Information tab located on page 11. In the Business Information tab, users can confirm information such as the business name and the business phone number and the business email. Users will also be asked to update or confirm their address of record and business mailing address. They will also need to provide a primary business contact before continuing. After clicking Save and Continue, you will move on to the Owner Information tab, where the user can confirm the business entity type, such as sole proprietor or LLC. And on page 12, you will find an example of an Owner Information tab for a sole proprietor. And on page 13, you will find an example of what an LLC will see with multiple members. On page 14, that is our attestation page, and the user will electronically sign, verifying that all information is accurate before the final submission. And then lastly, the last step is the Fee and Payment tab. This is where users see a breakdown of fees, and we want this page to feel seamless with an easy payment and instant confirmation. That concludes the walkthrough of the wireframe, and at this stage, the focus has been on layout, flow, and usability. Just ensuring each section supports a smooth and intuitive user experience. And the next steps will be to incorporate content, refine interactions, and move into development. Do council members in the room have any questions about the wireframe?
Is the intent to still for the credit card payments to still, for the Bureau to still absorb the processing fee.
That,
I will leave.
yeah, pump that one right over. So that is an ongoing conversation, and that's an ongoing conversation, whether or not the Bureau can continue to absorb that cost.
Okay. And we'll be notified when you decide.
100%, there will be, that will not be done in secret, 100%, yeah.
All right. Do any council members online have questions about the wireframe?
Yeah, this is Bert Grimes. On the when we get back to the owner information, is that going to be a drop-down menu where it says sole proprietor, LLC, or corporation, or are we going to have a different page for each type of ownership?
So, hi, Brett. This is Jacqueline Castro. I'm the licensing manager at the Bureau.
Yeah.
Under the owner information tab, it's actually going to be a drop down, so you'll be able to choose type of ownership. Oh, I'm sorry. This is automatically generating.
Right?
This is automatically generating from what we currently have on record in CAS. So if there's any changes to your license, we will require the licensee to contact the Bureau. And at that point, we would ask a series of questions concerning the business. And then we would take that into consideration and then better guide the licensee. Is it, for example, are they changing it to new officers? Are they including new officer names? Do they have to complete a new application because now they've gone from a sole proprietor to corporation? So there's a little bit more information that we need from licensees to make that determination.
And I'll just note there too, the same for the address that Chris reviewed, where it's that troublesome page 11. That information is going to auto-populate with what we have on record, and then the user is going to be asked to confirm that, or if there's a change, there'll be some steps they can do to make that change. But a lot of the information on the renewal is going to auto-populate from what we have on record.
Okay. Next question I have is, we've talked about this before on the way to pay the fees. Is there any way that we can further check in to see if we can get the electronic funds transfers like ACH or e-check or besides credit cards?
So we have asked about that, and what we've been, and I can continue to ask about it, I'm happy to do that. What we have been told is that it's very expensive. And that's been one of the hesitations to making that as an available option. I'm not sure what the options are for that in terms of finding a better contract with more reasonable fees. And I would imagine if other boards and bureaus are continuing to hear from people that this is something they want, that's a conversation that will continue. It certainly would be helpful probably for household movers as well, if that was an option. So it is something we have talked about, but as of now, we've been told it's prohibitively expensive.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then my third question is we are now collecting emails. Is there any future in where we could possibly have electronic newsletters sent out to the licensees across the whole Bureau, not just the home furnishing, but the household movers and electronic appliance repair, et cetera?
Yeah, so I will say that this is something that has been on the list of that the Bureau has wanted to do for a while. That's something that would involve most likely Joanne, who's our content manager. And I think that, and you'll hear when Joanne gives her update, that her focus for the next number of months is really going to be on the website. That's going to be very consuming, and I think that's something that we could potentially talk about once the website is updated, as something that we can consider, but it's very much been on the list. And I agree that there is a need to do something like that. It would be very helpful.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, does the public, no, there's no public in the room. Does the public online have any questions about the wireframe?
This is the moderator, and if anyone would like to make a comment about the proposal or the update, you can look for the hand icon and click that to raise your hand. And our call-in users can press *3 to raise their hands. Any comments on the BizMod update? I do not see any raised hands. I will turn the meeting back to you all.
All right, thank you. For future online transactions, there are several next steps. I have several exciting next steps for the future online transactions. We will be expanding functionality to support new Ear and Hefty applications. Wireframes have been built and are currently in the process of being reviewed and refined. For the enforcement functionality, that will also be added for better compliance tracking and case management. The Bureau is having internal discussion on how processes such as investigations, incident reports, and the issuance and payments of fines can be incorporated into Connect. And lastly, the Bureau is exploring the possibility of adding a searchable thermal insulation directory to Connect. The goal with that is to create a more user-friendly resource for both consumers and businesses. There are also ongoing discussions as to how we can use Connect for applications and renewals, as well as pay any directory fees. And on that note, I will pass it back to you, Claire.
Thank you, Chris. And then I just want to mention briefly kind of about the overall project status. So we are really expecting to begin building the Ear Hefty renewal with the Connect team in late October, early November. We're doing this through what's called maintenance and operations rather than entering into a separate contract with the vendor. I think we have enough skill in-house and there's enough skill at DCA, which is very helpful. And that is the financially very helpful for the Bureau. And then as Chris explained, he's also working on building wireframes or these drafts for the other elements of Connect. And so I think we really do feel that this model is working better to be doing this work ahead of time with Chris, determining what we need, what the Bureau needs, what it should all look like. And then we're having those ongoing conversations with the Connect team. And then once we have that all in place, we actually will start building the technical part. And hopefully that means that the building of it will move more quickly and more smoothly to help accelerate that part of the process. And we're also really trying to use this as an opportunity to improve the process for both applicants, licensees, and staff. As Chris said, we want to make, in this example, the Ear Hefty renewal as easy as possible for a licensee, but we also, to Tom's earlier point, we also really want to make it as easy as possible for the staff on the other side. And so we're having all of those conversations internally, and then just ongoing maintenance for household movers, and the few outstanding items for household movers are also being addressed through the maintenance and operations. So we have a lot of pieces of Connect moving, and we're really excited to continue to move forward with the Ear Hefty renewal. So with that, are there any other comments from council members in the room on the Connect update? Any other comments online from council members? Okay. Anne, would you mind just checking again if there are any comments from the public on Connect?
Certainly. If anyone would like to make a comment on this update to the Connect report, you can look for the hand icon and click that. And if you're on a mobile device, you might have to go behind the 3-dot other options to find that hand icon. Any questions or comments? I do not see any raised hands. I'll turn the meeting back to you.
Okay, thank you so much. All right, so we will move to agenda item 6, which is to review the May 8th, 2025 council meeting minutes. Those start on page 17. Any comments from council member in the room?
Just a question, really. My final question on page 27, has a booklet yet been produced for the regulations with the upgraded modifications to the regulations? At the point of our last meeting, it was just available online. I'm wondering if you published the regulation, the updated regulation book with the new modifications yet?
Are you talking about the law book that would include all of the
Yes.
regulations? So we're gonna have that ready in early 2026.
Okay.
Yeah, so right now it's still separate. But
But
it'll be fully incorporated. Eileen's working on this.
But there's a separate print version now?
There is, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so that, right, so whatever you see online can also be made available in print.
Okay.
Yeah.
So before I leave, I'd like to get a print version.
Oh.
Yeah, they're back at the office.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
Send me one.
what's that?
Can you send me one?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Are there any, was that it, Steve?
That's my only question.
Okay. Are there any comments from council members online about the May 2025 minutes? Okay. And would you mind seeing if there's any public comment on that item?
Absolutely. If anyone would like to make a comment on the draft minutes, you may look for the hand icon and click that. Each speaker will have 3 minutes with a 30-second warning. Any comments on the minutes? I do not see any raised hands. I'll turn the meeting back to you.
Okay, thank you so much. So as I mentioned earlier, this is the point where we're gonna take one of the items out of order. So we're gonna go ahead and do the enforcement program update now. And so I will turn it over to the enforcement chief, Alda Aguirre.
Thank you. And good morning. My name is Alda Aguirre. I'm the enforcement chief for the Bureau of Household Goods and Services. And since we jumped in the line, I'll turn your attention to page 51. And so we're going to start at the top of that page. And so just to give a brief summary on the enforcement program. So the enforcement program consists of 4 units. There is the Northern Special Investigations Unit, the Southern Special Investigations Unit, the Compliance Unit, and case management. And throughout the information we provide, we'll give you some more details about what each unit does. So I'm going to now hand things over to Supervising Special Investigator Travis Cook, who will discuss the investigation highlights.
Thank you, Alda. Good morning, everybody. My name is Travis Cook. I'm the supervising investigator for the Northern Enforcement Team. And we're still on page 51. I'm going to go over some highlights of the enforcement program. To start off with, I'll talk about some district attorney cases and attorney general cases. July 24th, 2025, the Bureau received updates on the Ventura County DA cases filed against 3 mover businesses, which were a result from the November 2024 sting. 2 of the cases resulted in arrest warrants against the defendants after failing to appear in court, and 1 owner was scheduled for an arraignment after appearing for their initial hearing. In August of 2025, the Bureau delivered multiple complaint cases against an ear business to the Attorney General's office for license revocation. This business advertises and operates under names different than its own to mislead the public into believing they are hiring a reputable business that are certified to provide repairs on high-end appliances. And then I'll move on to cooperation among agencies. Our enforcement program participates in regular task force meetings to share information and strategies with other state and local partners. This includes quarterly task force meetings in the South, Central, and North. Some of the participants include the San Diego County District Attorney's Office, the Placer County DA's Office, the Yolo County DA's Office, the Attorney General's Office, the Better Business Bureau, California Department of Weights and Measures, and the Labor Commission. In July of 2025, Bureau investigators met with a manufacturing company to learn every step of the company's production, which included sewing the law labels on the products. During that meeting, it was discovered that the company who printed their label provided them with the wrong registry number. The Bureau educated the business to allow an opportunity for correction while also educating the business on future sample procurement. In July, investigators spoke with multiple businesses to provide education. One specific business was a storage facility in Santa Cruz. The business was educated on the Bureau's jurisdiction, road movers, and how to check the licensing status of a mover. Hold hostage cases were also discussed, along with information on what to do if an abandoned unit is found on their premises. Outreach flyers were also provided to the business, which were placed for distribution in their lobby. Then I'll move on to page 52. We work with FMCSA, the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration. There's some highlights from that. On July 9th, 2025, investigators joined FMCSA agents in Los Angeles County to conduct household mover inspections. On July 29th, FMCSA field agents referred an unlicensed Nevada-based household mover to the Bureau for investigation into an unlicensed operation in California. On August 4th, FMCSA field agents referred another unlicensed Oregon-based household mover to the Bureau for investigation into the unlicensed operation in California during an intrastate move with a CHP inspection report as evidence. An investigation was opened against the mover. On August 25th, FMCSA field agents referred 3 unlicensed intrastate movers with multiple complaints for moves within the state. Investigations were opened against each business. And then I will move on to sweeps and stings, which is on page 53. On May 20th and 21st of this year, the Bureau attended the Southern California Furniture and Accessory Market Show in Long Beach and contacted both licensed and unlicensed wholesalers, manufacturers to discuss Hufty regulations and requirements. The sweep was used as an outreach opportunity and no citations were issued. On July 16th and 17th, the Bureau conducted a sweep of delinquent and unlicensed ear, Hufty, and mover businesses in the Santa Cruz, Monterey area. Investigators issued 16 citations totaling 6,500 in fines to businesses operating without a valid license. 42 businesses were contacted during the sweep, which included 22 ear businesses, 16 Hufty, and 4 household movers. And then I have some information that happened after the packet was completed that I'd like to share. On September 24th and 25th of this year, there was a sweep conducted in the Fresno area. This resulted in a total of 46 businesses checked, 22 Hufty, 21 ear, 3 household movers. There was a total of 18 citations issued for an amount of $6,250, which does not include the delinquent fees. There was also inspection reports completed for businesses that were not cited. And also later in this month of October, we have a statewide sweep for household movers scheduled. And I will pass it back to Alden.
Thank you, Travis. So now I draw your attention to the middle of page 53, where I'll go over the cease letter numbers. And so cease letters are letters that go out to businesses for operations of unlicensed activity. This is an opportunity for businesses to be educated on the requirements, and it allows the business an opportunity to apply for a license before we take further action. So between April 2025 and August 2025, 46 cease letters were issued. 19 of those letters were household movers, 5 were Hufty businesses, and 20 were ear businesses. Then we move on to the BHUG's collections program. And earlier, when I introduced the enforcement program, I discussed case management. Part of what our case management team has done is they work on collections. So as you'll see later in our citations pages, we've issued citations, but the collection on those citations have been lower numbers. So now we have a collections program. And the collections program started in October of 2024. And between October of 2024 and March 31st of 2025, the collections unit issued 102 notices to businesses who had not paid their fines. Out of those businesses, 7 were referred to the Franchise Tax Board for collections. We also have the option of referring them to a collection agency if we have limited information on the individuals who have been cited. So that means if they're missing, date of birth, their social security number, we can take collection action in another way. Between April 1st, 2025 and August 31st, 2025, 181 notices were sent to businesses who had not paid their fines, and there were 67 referrals for collections. The total collected as of the presentation, or I'd say by September 1st of this year, the total collected, and these are only collected through the collections process, were $15,820 in unpaid fines. I'm very excited about that. So,
It's a good improvement.
yes, it is an improvement. Thank you, Steve. So next, I will move over to consumer business assistance. And it's on page 54. And here's where we list just some of the cases that come across the desk. And there are situations where our investigators and our analysts are working with businesses and consumers to resolve matters. So in April of 2025, the Bureau investigated a service contract administrator case where the consumer bought a refrigerator that broke. The company tried to repair the fridge 7 times, but the business refused to replace the refrigerator as indicated in the terms of their contract. The Bureau assisted with the case, and at the conclusion of the case, the business replaced the refrigerator for a better model valued at $2,399. Another case was from May 27th of 2025, where the Bureau investigated a case against a furniture retailer where the consumer was fraudulently registered for a protection plan that they had not requested. So the Bureau took administrative action against the business, but then the investigator also assisted the consumer in communicating with the protection plan company, who canceled the account and provided a refund to the consumer of $1,034. In June 2025, the Bureau investigated a household mover complaint alleging overcharges. The consumer paid $10,000 above the broker's initial quote. The Bureau assisted with negotiations between the consumer and the respondent, which resulted in a settlement of $8,000 refunded to the complainant.
Is that, okay, sorry.
It's okay. In July of 2025, the Bureau investigated a complaint against a suspended household mover business. It was received as a possible hold hostage. However, after further investigation, we found that the consumer was refusing to pay the balance of $600.75. After working with both parties, they both agreed to a lower price, and a delivery of the goods was made, which saved the consumer $8,870. In July of 2025, the Bureau investigated an appliance repair business for damage claims related to a dishwasher that was improperly installed, leading to a water leak and significant damage to the residents. After reviewing the supporting documentation, contacting the home warranty administrator for additional information, a settlement was reached between the parties, and the service company responsible for the repairs agreed to pay for the damages, and the complainant accepted the offer of $5,800. And so now I'm on page 55. So the narrative is on page 55, but the chart is on page 56. And the table shows the number of complaints received and investigations initiated. So as we look at the numbers, there has been a steady increase, and I will draw your attention to the last column. Although it shows that the numbers are lower than other quarters, it's only 2 months worth of data, just because of the time when we pull the data. So those numbers are lower. But we expect the numbers to stay pretty much in line with the complaints that we received for the Ear, Hufty, and Household Mover program. But as you can see in the Bureau totals at the bottom of the chart, there is an increase in complaints received that we are processing. Now I bring you to the bottom of page 56, and the chart is on page 57. And these are the numbers for investigations and the compliance unit conducts desk investigations. More egregious complaints, complaints that require field inspections, those cases are handled by the Special Investigations Unit, either the north or the south. However, even though some of those cases are referred, the teams do work together to obtain information. So as you look at our investigation numbers, there's an increase in EAR cases. The HUFD numbers have stayed the same. The household movers, there's a slight increase, and our totals are continuing to increase. Now I draw your attention to page 58, and I show you that our citations issued, the numbers have pretty much stayed the same over the last few quarters. I will draw your attention to the last row for the amount collected for the last column. There's a typo there. The total is actually 4,750. We've noticed that there is a low number, steady number with the household mover citations. But we have issued, as you can see with the cease letters, we have issued cease letters, and it is part of the reason why our staff are working diligently to put that suite together. That's going to take place, as Travis mentioned, at the end of the month. We're expecting an increase in citations issued or referrals to the district attorney's office, depending on what we find. And I will say that a majority of those cases are cases that we've received through our complaint process. They're tips and recommendations that we've received, looking at a website to find businesses who are operating unlicensed and illegally. Then I turn your attention to page 59, where the lab failure statistics are listed. And as I mentioned, the compliance unit handles the desk investigations. They also review the lab reports, and Jacob will go into the lab reports, but they process those lab reports and issue citations or advisory letters based on the findings. Another part of what the compliance unit does is processes background checks for applicants. And that's just to give you an idea of what each unit does. And then the last page that I'll discuss is page 60. And I know that Claire and Chris already talked about it. I'm sure Joanne's going to talk about it, but enforcement is really excited about the webpage complaint form. And so I just took a snapshot of it. Before the system we had, we would receive a complaint, and it would be forwarded to an email box, and then it had to be sorted and flagged, and it was just a difficult process. And then through that previous complaint form, the complainants were unable to attach pictures or copies of documents, so they would email them separately. So our staff would have to go into the mailbox, find those documents, and try to find the complaint that matched those documents, and then locate the investigator assigned to them, which was just a more complicated process, but that was the system we had. That's no longer the case. Now the complainant can file the complaint, upload the pictures, the forms. So from the start of the case, we have all the documents that the consumer wanted to provide at the complaint process, and we're very excited about that. So now I'll open it up to advisory council member comment in the room.
Great, thank you. And thank you, Alda, and you and your team are doing a great job. I appreciate that. Whatever you guys did in the fourth quarter of 24, that's what you need to replicate. The statistics during that quarter are way out of line with everything else. Not really sure why, but we were very productive in that quarter. When I go back to page 51, I'll read the broken record that I always am when we come to enforcement, and that is the need for press releases and the value to not only to all groups. I mean, the licensees see that and see that you're doing something. The bad actors realize they've been caught. There's a couple of things here. The decisions have been made. orders have been issued. Why is this not, even in our documents, it's redacted? Why is this not public information? What were the names they operated under? That sort of thing. It's public record, or it should be, and you guys should be issuing press releases on it. I will republish it. It will be up there forever. Every consumer that gets an estimate from that name, it does a Google search, it'll pop up, repopulate to my website saying they were a bad actor in 2025, and at least cause some discussion. So I know there's been legal issues about press releases, but as long as I sit on this council, every single time enforcement comes up, I will say there needs to be press releases. There was one thing the PUC did, issued press releases all the time on this stuff. And anything you need us to do to help, if it has to be legislatively, we will do it, because I'm just tired of there not being press releases and people being so hesitant to issue information about final decisions that have been made by a court or agency.
Yeah, thank you, Steve. So I will tell you, so the decisions are public information. You are absolutely correct. And that information can be found on our website. So if you actually go to look up a business to see if they're licensed or not, the first page that you will come across is the page where it will list our citations issued. So you can find out if we've issued a citation to a business who's operated unlicensed. You'll find their name listed there. In addition to that, the decisions and orders, accusations, all that information is listed on our website. And we are currently working with Joanne on making that page more user-friendly. Now that we've learned how to get all the information on the page, now we're trying to find a way that's, like I said, more user-friendly. So thank you.
So if Bob's Moving is issued a citation, and in the end, a court judgment comes and says, hey, bad actor, and if I search Bob's Moving, it would come up, and that information will be there.
Yes, so if you look up Bob's Moving, it will show from the moment that we cited them. And it's actually after their appeal process. So let's say we cite Bob's Moving, and just to be clear, Bob's Moving is not an actual business that I know of that I'm talking about. But if we cited that business, you can see after their appeals period is passed, that citation will be listed. So right now, the citations for that were issued the last quarter, those are all on there, and you can look it up and see. And let's say they go through the appeal process and we have a hearing and a decision is made. That's in a different part of that same page where you can see decisions and orders. And then there's a list of glossary terms for individuals who don't understand the terms. They can go and look.
So I'm grateful for those efforts. It still doesn't preclude me from saying there needs to be press releases.
Yeah, right. Thank you for
Okay.
that.
Yeah.
Next issue is related to the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration. They've gone through a staffing crisis and do not even have a director. They're in the process of setting a director, and I see you had some engagement with them in LA. What kind of, are you running into issues dealing with them in DC?
So I will tell you that that's not been an issue for us. We have the authority in the things that we're doing, and it has not impacted us.
You mentioned that there's going to be sting operations or an upcoming household goods sting operation, and somehow my mind was thinking of something else. General time frame and general location of that sting operation.
Well, I think what I mentioned was a sweep.
Oh, it's sweet.
Sweep, yes. And so I think Travis mentioned it's coming up soon, and I cannot tell you the location.
Oh, I north, south,
Yeah.
no?
Oh, no, I can't. But I'll tell you that when the operation has been completed, that information will be available. Oh, it will definitely be there for next advisory council. But yes, it is upcoming, and that's all I can say at this time. I'm very excited about it.
And just to my facetious remark on the statistics, was there a specific reason why those numbers were so much stronger in the fourth quarter of 24? For example, the number of cases closed, the amount of citations assessed, far greater than any other quarter by a long shot.
Yeah. So I will say that the fine, I know for a fact that the reason the fine is so high is because that was a federal citation. That was an unlicensed federal citation. I believe the fine was around $37,000. So that's for the amount. And for the total fine, that's why that amount was high. As far as the numbers are concerned, there was an operation where there was several companies that were cited, that were all connected at the same time.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Now I'd like to open it for advisory council online. Any questions?
Yes, Bert Grimes, just a quick question. In referring to Steve's Bob's Movers, I'm looking for a moving company. I don't know that the Bureau even regulates household movers. If I Google household movers, will it give me the citations that the Bureau's issued to Bob's Moving Company?
You know what? I have not tested that. I have not tested if I Google it. I mean, of course, when I Google it, it comes up, but that's just because of my previous searches. So I think that is something that I can test to see. And I can see, I mean, these are public documents. That's how I found information on other businesses, is that I could simply Google it and it will pop up. So that's not something I've tested, but I can definitely try.
Yeah. And I'll just add that I'm trying to think of exactly the right word, but there is an awareness at the Bureau among the staff that a lot of consumers don't know that the Bureau exists. They don't know what we regulate, whether it's household movers or home furnishings or whatever. So this is one of the things, right? This is why Joanne was brought on board, and I don't need to steal your thunder for your later presentation, Joanne. But this is one of the big efforts in communication, whether it's videos, social media, outreach. The enforcement staff have been great in both the North and the South about participating in all kinds of outreach events. Many of them focused on seniors who are a particularly vulnerable population to being taken advantage of. So the Bureau does have multi-pronged effort to continue to try to raise public awareness about the Bureau, and particularly the importance of making sure that whoever you hire is licensed, and to check that license on the Bureau website. There is still a lot of work to be done in that area. There always is. But since Joanne came on board, I think I can say with some confidence we've made some good strides in that area.
I also want to add, Bert, this is Joanne, that with the website redesign that is coming up, I will talk about it later in my section, but once it is redesigned, hopefully the license search button will be front and center. And so it will be one of the first things that people will see when they do enter the Bureau's website.
Okay, we just got to get the consumer to go to the Bureau's website, right?
Yeah. We're working on that too. Yes.
It's better than going to the website.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is Pascal Beniamini. So just for fun, I did go on Google and I did put Bob's Mover citation. And there is no Bob Movers, but Google did direct me to the BHGS website with a link that said, if you want to check on citation, here's where you need to go. So
thank you.
Thank you.
We'll count that as a win.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Are there any other questions from Advisory Council online? Okay,
Before we go back to the public,
Yes.
one thing which I haven't brought up in a couple meetings, but it's also related to enforcement. sometimes enforcement gets a bias, oh, these permitted guys are there's a lot of bad actors, because so many of our complaints are related to permitted movers. But please always remember that we're the only ones driving traffic to that. We give out a booklet with every move that has your phone number and information in it, and no illegal scam operator gives out that booklet, or rare occasion, once in a great while, someone calls me who's getting scammed, I said, how do you get my number? Got the booklet. I said, what the heck, those guys give you a booklet for? But I would say that's a very, very rare occurrence. So know that too, that, you know, sometimes you're not even seeing, you know, the lower part of the iceberg.
Well, but actually the way we conduct our investigations are not solely complaint driven. Our focus is consumer protection, and that does not only involve the complaints that come to us. We also do proactive work, and that's what those sweeps are about.
Okay, good.
Okay, so Anne, can you open it for public comment online, please?
Certainly. If anyone has a comment on the enforcement report, you may look for the hand icon, typically along the bottom of the WebEx screen or behind the three-dot other options if you're on a mobile device. And if you, let's see, each person has a 3-minute time limit with a 30-second warning. Are there any comments on the enforcement report? I do not see any raised hands. I can turn the meeting back to you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think that it makes sense maybe to take a break right now, give everybody a chance, at least here, to stand up and stretch. So we can come back at 11:30. So we'll take just shy of 15 minutes. Okay, so Kelly Williams is going to give the administrative program update, which is agenda item 7.
Thank you. Since hiring continues to be one of the top priorities for the Bureau, my presentation will focus on Bureau staffing. Please join me by reviewing agenda item 7, starting on page 29. Oh,
Go ahead, Kelly.
okay, I just didn't, since we're at meeting in recess. Like most state agencies, the Bureau's staffing has been reduced because of the 2024 Budget Act. Effective July 2025, the Bureau lost 3 vacant positions, resulting in a reduction from 69 to 66 positions. The eliminated positions were all vacant and included 2 laboratory textile technician positions and 1 office technician position in the administration unit. The compliance unit office technician now provides backup support to the admin unit. In the laboratory unit, the 2 remaining textile technician positions were reclassified to analyst positions. The textile technician classification, established in the 1970s, was designed to perform routine testing and equipment maintenance. This outdated classification did not accurately reflect the analytical duties performed in the laboratory. Reclassifying the 2 remaining textile technician positions to analyst positions provided analytical support to the environmental scientists and flammability research test engineers. The analysts also act as a liaison with the licensing, enforcement, and policy units. 1 position was filled by an internal candidate who was promoted from within the Bureau, and an external candidate filled the remaining position. As Claire mentioned, Chaz Rafferty joined us as Chief of Administration and Licensing. 5 SSA positions were vacated in 2025. 1 position has been filled. 1 position is in the final stage of being filled, and 1 position is being reclassified to a bilingual Spanish position and will soon be advertised. The next position to be discussed is the special investigator. One of the Southern California Special Investigators positions became vacant when the incumbent accepted a promotional opportunity with another state agency. This bilingual Spanish position has been filled by a seasoned investigator who is transferring to the Bureau from another state agency and will join us on October 31st. The Bureau is in the final stages of filling a licensing analyst position for household movers. We closely monitor the attrition rate, which remains at an acceptable level. The primary drivers of attrition are promotions to another state agency, retirements, and staff leaving state service. Over the last year, BHUBs, with a staff of just 66 employees, has had 7 internal promotions, which is quite high. I'd also like to touch on lab contracts. The Bureau's contract analyst, Sue Robinson, has collaborated with lab staff to execute a large contract for the replacement of testing equipment and the installation of new equipment in the Bureau's burn room. Work will begin once the new equipment is received. Sue also executed a contract to update the Bureau's accreditation bodies. Previously, the laboratory was assessed by 2 separate accreditation bodies and had to prepare for 2 accreditation assessments at different times of the year. The Bureau has entered into a single contract for accreditation that combines both home furnishings and thermal insulation. The last topic that I'd like to discuss is staff engagement. Since our last advisory committee meeting in May, the Bureau held an all-staff meeting followed by a potluck in June, and hosted another potluck in August, which included a cornhole tournament. 3 Bureau employees who were the winners of that tournament were represented at the DCA-wide Bureau Cornhole Tournament in September. The Bureau also has a Halloween-themed potluck scheduled for October 27th. Do we have any questions from the advisory council member in the room?
Thank you. So currently we have 18 investigators staff. Are all 18 of those serving all 3 programs?
Yes.
There's none that are specific to one.
No.
Everybody.
Yes.
Okay.
Did you have any other questions?
No.
Okay. Do any of the remote advisory council members have questions? Okay. Does the public have any questions?
This is the moderator. If anyone would like to make a comment or ask a question about the administrative report, you may look for the hand icon and click that to raise your hand. And if you are on a mobile device, you might have to go behind that 3 other options to find that hand, but click that. I do not see any raised hands. I will turn the meeting back to you.
Thank you. Our next presentation will be by our licensing manager, Jacqueline Castro.
Thank you, Kelly. Good morning, my name is Jacqueline Castro. I'm the licensing manager at the Bureau. The licensing unit oversees 4 distinct programs: electronic appliance repair, home furnishing, thermal insulation, service contracts, and household movers. Today, I would like to introduce you to our licensing analyst, Abra Waller-Scholl, who will be presenting the licensing statistics.
Thank you, Jacqueline. So today we're going to begin our discussion with the licensing stats. BHGS has included 2 years of data to see statistical trends across all units. Today I will be reporting on the licensing statistics, which can be found on page 34, and the licensing processing times, which can be found on pages 37 through 39. Within the electronic and appliance repair, we noted a small increase from July until the end of August across all license types. As of August, the Bureau was processing EAR applications received 1 week and 5 days ago, renewals received within 2 days, and service contract administrator applications received 3 weeks and 4 days ago. Service contract applications have a higher than usual weeks to process time due to an AGDA position vacancy. The position became vacant when the incumbent accepted a new position at another state department. The vacancy will be filled soon. In home furnishings and thermal insulation, there was an overall small decrease in each license type due to business closure and delinquencies and a small increase in importer license. As of August, the Bureau was processing HFTI applications received 1 week and 5 days ago and renewals received 1 day ago. Household movers issued 33 new permits in the fourth quarter of fiscal year 24-25. 34 permits for July through August 2025 and overall. The Bureau issued 134 permits in fiscal year 24-25. As you can see historically, permits issued increase in the spring and summer months when the moving industry is busier and decrease in the fall and winter months. The licensing unit continues to assist applicants in completing their deficiencies and troubleshoot where necessary. In the fourth quarter, there were 52 exams administered with an 83% pass rate. That's 43 passed and 19 failed. And 40 exams were administered in July and August 2025 with an increase to a 90% pass rate, 36 passed, 4 failed. As of August, the Bureau was processing HHM applications received 5 to 6 days ago. Interstate applications received 1 day ago and have not received transfer applications to report on. We are processing maintenance applications, which include updated insurance, change of contact information, and adding and removing DBAs received 1 week ago. There was an increase in our quarterly revenue for the quarter ending June 30th. This can be attributed to more moves being conducted in the spring and summer months. The Bureau has increased written communication to all permit holders with outstanding quarterly reports and has sent email notifications when a new quarterly report uploads to Connect. Permit holders who did not submit their 2025 quarter 1 and 2 were suspended and were sent email notifications and letters. Earlier this year, we mailed out postcards providing due dates, penalty dates, and suspension dates for each 2025 quarter. The 2025 third quarter is now available in Connect, and on October 1st, a standard email notification was sent and a new postcard with only quarter 3 due dates was mailed. The household movers analysts continue to assist permit holders on how to use their Connect dashboard to submit their quarterly reports to avoid delays and suspension. We continue to process any checks that come in through the mail. Connect sent out an automated impending suspension notification for PL and PD insurance in August, and we sent out an automated impending suspension notification for cargo insurance in September. All permit holders that did not submit their PL and PD insurance in the time frame provided have now been auto-suspended. The workers' compensation notification will be sent out in October, and the previously notified outstanding cargo policy permit holders will be suspended. While this has caused an increase in phone call, email, and insurance verification volume, these automated notifications are assisting the Bureau in bringing our permit holders into compliance and ultimately protecting consumers in California. This concludes the licensing statistical overview. Does the council have any questions in the room?
Yeah, more comment. First of all, I was remiss in not telling Kelly great job on that on the vacancy rate issue. Seems to be continuing to dwindle, which is a very positive thing. I appreciate that. And on the licensing update, great job here. Great job, people. I would tell you there's a couple of things. When I look at the household movers quarterly revenue report, my assumption is that no one ever updated the second quarter of 24 because it's completely out of whack. The note talks about something that transpired a long time ago. So I think that needs to be dealt with. But when I look at active permits, I'm really pleased to see a continual growth in total permits. It's a very positive sign to see that. And I think you guys can take some credit for that because you have made that process much simpler for people and been responsive to people going through the process. So I would say congratulations, keep up the good work. That's another way to not have to address fees, at least for our program. So I applaud that effort. One other point here. The processing fee time is real minimal. I think that's very positive, and I would say keep up the good work on that as far as the amount of time to process applications. That's really minimal amount of time, and you don't lose people in the process when you keep it really short like that.
Yeah.
So very positive. I just want to congratulate you.
Thank you. Does the council have any questions online? Okay. Does the public have any questions online?
This is the moderator. If anyone would like to make a comment or ask a question, you can look for the hand icon, typically at the bottom of your WebEx screen, or behind the three-dot other options if you're on a mobile device. Anyone have any comments or questions? I do not see any raised hands. I will turn the meeting back to you.
Thank you. I would like to now hand it over to Jacob Egger, lab manager, who will be presenting the laboratory update.
Thank you, Amber. All right, good morning, everyone. My name is Jacob Egger. I am the Bureau's laboratory manager, and I'm going to be presenting the laboratory update for October 2025. It's been a little while since we talked last, so there's been a lot of different updates and changes with the lab. And the first being, Kelly talked about this earlier, it was the conversion of the textile technician positions to laboratory analysts. This was kind of a long time coming, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, mostly from like cutting onions and stuff. But two of the positions are now filled. One was an internal candidate, which was Daniel Aguilera. He was originally a textile technician, then converted into laboratory analyst. And then there was an external candidate named Caleb Sharp, and he started with the Bureau last month. It's actually his 3-week anniversary as of like 2 days ago. So really excited about that. So currently they're working together to kind of get up to speed on the old textile technician position duties. So this position is going to involve a lot of the textile technician duties as well as some more analytical duties, mostly when it comes to like prepping for lab reports and helping the scientists and the engineers out a little more to kind of save them from some of the extra work. So, and this all came from the 3 positions being vacant since December 2024. So big thanks to Claire and admin as well. And the September updates don't just stop there. As Kelly also mentioned, the lab has now entered into contract with DTAC Inc., and they're going to replace our burn room equipment. This is used for 16 CFR 1633 testing. This is a little foreshadowing from page 42. The equipment's been broken since 2024. So there's been a little bit of a work stoppage, to say the least. So DTAC and the Bureau are kind of working together to kind of work through everything. They're ordering equipment, and then also they'll just be training Bureau staff. It's been a little while since we've tested mattresses, and we got to kind of do a little refresher. Also, we have to go through accreditation again for the 16 CFR 1633 testing. Since our equipment was broken, we couldn't actually put it into this scope, so we're going to have to do a virtual assessment in hopefully December, maybe January, when this is all kind of figured out. So big thanks to Sue Robinson and DCA's contracts and Business Services Office. And then also the last update for September. This is the Bureau secured its first set of samples for online retailers. And we're expecting to do a little bit more in the future, so we'll be doing this more frequently. And I should have more updates in the future, the next council meeting update. And then Kelly also mentioned this earlier, but the lab is now consolidating accreditation contracts. So instead of having 2 different contracts where they're staggered every year, we're just getting hammered every year for accreditation, which takes up a bunch of time. It's at least a month to 2 months of just prep in the lab, doing trainings, making sure all of our documents are up to speed, checking for any updates of the policies. It is now under one accreditation, so that would be under the American Association for Laboratory Accreditation, or A2LA. Our new accreditation number is 7603.01. You can all write that down, thank you. And now you should only have to hear about accreditation once every other year. I'm happy to, thank you. And then also in the month of July, Scott, one of the laboratory analysts that does most of the login and also thermal directory, updated and posted the July 2025 directory of certified installation materials. So if you're ever looking to put stuff in your home, check that directory, thank you. All right. Now, each one of these updates kind of involved, well, it did involve a lot of work, a lot of, blood, sweat, and tears again, the onions. So I'm really grateful to my team, and then pretty much everybody else, contracts, anybody that helped along the way. And since we've had a lot of these extracurricular activities, our numbers are looking a little down, but they are expected to bounce up, especially with the new staff member, and then also getting the new equipment as well. So now that we've kind of finished, doing all of our other activities, we can really prepare for that cornhole tournament. We've been practicing every day after work in the parking lot, door to block at 5 o'clock. But no, we're going to get back to product testing, and hopefully our numbers will go up. Not hopefully, they will. So again, the numbers will look a little sad. Most of them will be in the single digits and whatnot, but the next advisory council meeting, I expect those should be jumping up. It's already moving in the upward direction. You just won't be able to see it. So now I'm ready to get into the fun stuff. Statistics for the lab. Everybody loves it. So first, we're starting here on page 41. This is Technical Bulletin 117/2013. For any of those who are unfamiliar, this is the Bureau's smoldering standard for upholstered furniture. It's the little tag that's on the bottom of your cushion or your couch that basically says, don't put this next to cigarettes. I know you've all read it, so thank you. And over the past 2 years, and it's a little bit short of the past few years since it kind of cuts the quarter in half, but we've tested 54 samples for TB 117/2013, all of which have passed, so great job, industry, keep it up. That's what we like to see. And now moving on to the thing that I foreshadowed earlier. This is 16 CFR 1633, or the federal government's open plane mattress test, and this starts on page 42. As I stated before, we've been unable to test since early 2024, and the hope is by the end of the year we can get back into being operational. It might go into 2026 a little bit. Hopefully it won't go much longer than that. Again, there's going to be a lot of training and accreditation and a bunch of different things that we kind of have to work through and trying to learn the new equipment. And the equipment really couldn't have broke at a worse time. We were seeing, before the equipment broke, we were seeing a 35% failure rate on mattresses that were coming in the door. And once the equipment's back in operation and installed, we expect to be testing a lot more. Hopefully the weather holds out for us whenever we start testing. And again, I say this in the other council meetings, but we are speculating that more mattresses will fail 1633 with the ban on fiberglass. That was implemented with AB 1059, which will be implemented in 2027. All right, moving on to page 43 of the packet. This is thermal insulation. Thermal insulation is a couple different things. The main one that you'll see when you go into Home Depot is R-value testing. Basically how well your house is insulated, how well it keeps the heat out, keeps the heat in. There's also corrosion, how it corrodes your pipes, how it interacts when it's wet and goes through different weather cycles. There's also different flammability and smoldering tests as well that are done. But the main one that we do day to day is the R-value testing. And over the past 2 years, or past 2 quarters, the lab was unable to test thermal insulation testing. This was because we were switching to current bodies. Originally, we were with 2 bodies and we switched into 1. It just so happened that thermal insulation was the one that kind of got cut short. It ended in March 31st, 2025. So you'll see a little gap there. But you'll also see a big number in that 1 quarter where we tested 16 samples. And this was all the samples that we got in and we just tried getting through before our accreditation lapse. So there's a big influx there. Normally, these will be more in the single digits. Thermal insulation takes a ton of time. A lot of working with external contractors as well if we're doing E84 testing or anything that involves something outside of the lab. And also each sample that we're testing isn't just one sample. There's 3 different specimens or 4 different specimens, kind of depending on however the test needs to be run. And each one of those tests can take anywhere from an hour to 2 days. So again, this is one of our more time-consuming tests other than breaking down a big sofa or mattress or something like that too. And over the past 2 years, we averaged a 29% failure rate for thermal insulation samples. And again, we're expecting these to stay more in the single digits with the totals tested. And now that our accreditation is back up and running for thermal insulation, we started sampling again for thermal, and we're starting to get in samples now. We're sampling 12 samples, and hopefully by the end of October, we'll have them all in. We've gotten about 5 so far. So this will be reflected in the next council meeting as well. Turning to page 44, this is bedding testing. And bedding testing is a few different things. First is the finish size. Finish size is for comforters, bed pillows, mattress pads, mattresses, and sleeping bags. Really what we're testing here is that it fits over your mattress. So when you buy that brand new comforter, it's all wrinkled, you bust it out of the box, throw it over your mattress. You want to make sure that it's going over the whole thing, exactly what you look for when you're looking at numbers. And if it's not, that means it's failing finish size if they claimed that it was 80 inches and it turned out to be like 60. Might have happened a few times. So that's the first part of bedding testing. There's also the net weight. So the net weight is the net weight of filling materials or the overall weight of filling materials in the product. These products would be a little different. It's sleeping bags, box springs, and mattresses are the main ones. And those are the 2 different testings that are done for bedding testing, along with the label review, which we'll talk about later. And over the past 2 years, 63% of bedding products have failed one or both tests. And in January of 2025, the Bureau released technical bulletins for finish size to ensure greater compliance with the industry. And now the Bureau is starting to ramp up bedding testing again since sufficient time has passed since the technical bulletins were released. We've received comments and things over the time. Now, moving on to page 45, which is the overall testing that the lab has done. Over the past 2 years, the Bureau has tested 166 samples of furniture, bedding, or thermal insulation, with the last 2 quarters being a bit of a slump. So out of the 166 samples, 118 of those samples have passed, which results in a 29% failure rate. And bedding and thermal insulation are bringing down the pass rate. And it should be noted that labeling and flame retardant testing are not on this chart. As a great segue, page 46 is the flame retardant chemical labeling. So if we want to turn to that page, the lab has reviewed 55 flammability labels for the flame retardant chemical statement, with only one of those 55 not having a checkbox saying if it contained or did not contain FR chemicals. Moving on to page 46, this is the actual testing that is being done on those products. So over the past 2 years, there hasn't been a sample that's been sent to DTSC that contained over the 1,000 parts per million of flame retardant chemicals. There have been a couple gaps in testing for a couple different reasons. In 2024, the contract expired and it was kind of a lot of work to get it going. So there's a bit of downtime there. Again, Sue worked on it tirelessly, so thank you, her. And then also in 2025, there's been a bit of change with DTSC's methods and hiring new staff to conduct testing. We're currently working with them now to get another set of samples out. So these numbers should be a little bit, these should be higher in the future. Higher being more tested. I don't know about the pass-fail. We don't want to see failures. All right. And then moving on to the hot topic of label review, which is on page 48. Over the past 2 years, 115 law labels have been reviewed for compliance with the Home Furnishings and Thermal Insulation Act. 24 of those 115 law labels were perfectly followed back to a T, resulting in reimbursement and an imaginary gold star. And 25 of those 115 law labels had minor violations, which resulted in reimbursement and also a letter stating what was wrong with the product and the label. Now, 50 of those 115 products had moderate violations, which resulted in non-reimbursement and a letter stating what was wrong with the product. And 16 of the 115 had major violations, which resulted in enforcement action. So overall, only 21% of samples were considered passing, while 79% of labels are failing. And on the last page here, you'll have this lovely diagram here. And this just breaks down the different passes, minors, moderates, and major label results in color. As you can see, the numbers are down for the last 4 quarters, but we're expecting to get up more in the current month or in the next months. So I would like to open the meeting now to council member in the room.
I have a question. So I appreciate the work you guys do. I think it's great. You know, when I was a young child in the early 60s, we'd gather around the radio at night to hear the news, and we'd hear about somebody burning to death in their bed. You know, they took the Marlboros and the Jack to bed and left the cigarette and they burned. I never hear about that anymore. Is it possible still to burn up in your bed with, I mean, those were old mohair mattresses at the time, but is it, I know you do burn testing for a lot of different reasons, but is there still that danger of someone actually burning up in their bed?
Yeah, I think there's always going to be a danger with it. I mean, there's different products that we'll get where it completely passes the whole 30 minutes. We put a whole flamethrower on it. That's pretty much what the test is, topside burner. And then it goes for, the burner's only on for about 1 minute and 10 seconds. And then after that, it's allowed to go. So the whole intention of the test is if it does catch fire, you'll have enough time to escape. So I think a lot's been done over the years that makes it so it's not just complete combustion. There used to be smoldering tests as well for the Marlboros and stuff like that too. The federal government still does it, but we don't currently do it. But yeah, I think there's always going to be some concern with it. And we have been seeing more of an uptick. When I started here, it was a lot less than 35% failure rate. So we're kind of going to explore it when we get back to being able to test mattresses.
Is the uptick a result of mattresses coming from other countries with materials that would be utilized here?
Not so much. It seems pretty, well, I have to say it because it's been a year now, but it's mostly, it seems like there's just a lack of like attention to detail when it comes to the barriers, where the flame will kind of spread through and it'll look like it's going great, and then there's a little hole somewhere or pinhole, maybe there's some stitching that isn't done correctly, or they're using like not flame retardant thread, and then what it does is it permeates through that barrier and it just goes up. It turns into the whole show. It looks like a fireworks show after a while. Springs fall out and everything too. So it kind of happens across the board. It just we don't see very many mattresses right now from China or anything, but we're trying to kind of move in a direction where we can actually sample online. So a lot of like the Amazon samples, Wayfair samples and stuff too.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, now I'll open it to council members who are not in the room or joining virtually. Okay. Anybody in the room from the public that would like to speak to that? No? All right. Can we open it to the public online, please?
Absolutely. This is the moderator. If anyone would like to make a comment on the lab report, you may look for the hand icon and click that to raise your hand. And our call-in users can press *3 to raise their hand. Any comments? I do not see any raised hands. I will turn the meeting back to you.
Great, thank you. So this officially concludes the laboratory update for the October 2025 council meeting. And now I will be turning it over to the greatest content manager, Joanne Van.
Thank you, Jacob. Hi, everyone. I'm Joanne Van. I am the content manager. I will be covering the Bureau's communications and education updates starting on page 61 of the packet. And it covers the Bureau's efforts in outreach events, publications, website updates, social media, and video since May 2025. Starting with video, as a reminder, all of our videos are uploaded on DCA's YouTube channel and shared to the Bureau's website, as well as on our social media accounts of Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and X. The Bureau is currently finalizing a video titled Helpful Tips Before You Buy a Protection Plan. It will cover what a protection plan is, what to look out for when considering one, and consumer rights when purchasing a protection plan. And this video will be posted in the next few weeks. We are also planning a video series with instructions for applying for a license with the Bureau, and this will cover all of our regulated industries. In addition to step-by-step instructions, these videos will cover helpful resources for applicants. And the videos will also be shared with unlicensed businesses during compliance checks. Moving on to publications, the Bureau has a new publication titled The Right to Repair Act, a Consumer Guide. It has been posted in both English and Spanish on our website. The publication explains the provisions of the Right to Repair Act, how to find license information for paid repairs, and how to file a complaint if needed. This publication is distributed at outreach events and also at community events throughout California where attendees can get their small appliances repaired for free. And these events are called repair cafes and fix-it clinics. The Bureau also updated a publication titled What Happens During a Bureau Inspection of Your Business. This has been posted to our website in both English and Spanish and is shared with businesses during compliance checks. This publication covers what to expect and where to reach out to if businesses have any questions during an inspection. Moving on to social media, the Bureau continues to post weekly in both English and Spanish on our social media accounts with topics ranging from week to week across all of our regulated industries for consumers, applicants, and licensees. Our follower count for the past 4 quarters can be found on page 63 of the packet. I want to note that under the statistic for December 31st, 2024, our follower count for X decreased because of X's mass removal of bot accounts during that month. And this is a practice that they are still actively executing. We've since made back the number of followers lost. On page 63, you can also find examples of recent graphics that were posted on our accounts. Moving on to website updates, I'm excited to share that starting January 2026, the Bureau will begin working with DCA to execute a full redesign of our website. The goal with this is to have a clean and simple design where our most popular links are clearly prioritized and information is easier to find. The contents of the website are also being updated so that any information on the website, such as our FAQs, are up to date. If everything goes well, we expect the project to be completed within the first half of 2026. On pages 64 and 65, you can find mock-ups of a proposed homepage, a license renewal page, and a new video webpage. For our outreach events, the Bureau continues to participate in outreach events throughout California to connect with and provide resources to our community members and partners, both state and local. We're always improving our presentation materials so that they're easy to understand. And we also purchased new equipment for our outreach events, including tablecloths, banner displays, and canopies, since we expect to continue participating in these outreach events moving forward. Since May 2025, the Bureau participated in 19 outreach events. I'd like to take a moment to thank our speakers at these events. Please bear with me. Thank you to Teray McKinney, Oliver Manola, Blanca Aceves, Destiny Wells, Chris Janis, Brian Kauff, Tina Biladu, Christopher Heron, May D, Mary Lee, Kirsten Andreasen, Nicholas Ching, Maria Rodriguez, Alana Orjakovsky, and Delia Garcia for their participation in these events. Moving on to internal communications, it remains a priority for the Bureau to foster transparent communication and collaboration. In addition to our orientations, trainings, and potlucks, we hold all staff meetings every 6 months to discuss key updates, and an internal newsletter is distributed monthly to keep staff informed on Bureau activities and our regulated industries. That concludes the communications and education update. I'd like to open it up for comment from council members in the room.
I don't have any questions at this time.
Okay. Are there any comments from council members online?
Just want to compliment the staff. This is Tom Keepers on the collaboration as you develop content for the public. It's great to be able to take a look and help contribute to shape it as necessary. So thanks very much.
Thank you, Tom.
Yeah, thank you also, Ms. Bergrimes, for the outreach events. I think the more we can get the Bureau out there, the face of the public, the better off we're going to be. And so, thank you.
I agree. Thank you, Bert. All right, Anne, can you open it up for comment from the public online?
Absolutely. If anyone would like to make a comment about the report, you may look for the hand icon and click that to raise your hand. If you're on a mobile device, that hand icon might be behind the 3-dot other options. Any comments on the report? I do not see any requests for comment. I will turn the meeting back to you.
Thank you, and I will hand it over to Eileen Yap, who will cover our legislative and regulatory update.
Thank you, Joanne. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Eileen Yap, and I am the Policy Manager for the Bureau. I will be providing the legislative and regulatory updates today. If you would like to follow along, you can also find written summaries of my updates and relevant materials in the Advisory Council packet starting on page 69. So first we have the regulatory proposal regarding amendments to the labeling requirements. At the Advisory Council meeting on May 8th, the Bureau informed the Advisory Council that the Bureau was advised to separate this proposal into 2 proposals. Specifically, first, a Section 100 action that would contain all the technical amendments, and second, a proposal that would contain all the substantive amendments. I'm happy to report that the Section 100 action is complete. The action was approved for adoption and became effective on May 19th, and a copy of the approved rule text is included in the Advisory Council packet starting on page 71. Regarding the proposal containing substantive amendments, this is the proposal that would contain the material changes the Bureau is seeking, including updates of terminology, label content, and label templates. The Bureau is in the process of completing updates to this proposal and is aiming to resubmit it to our DTA Regulatory Council this fall for further review. And next we have the regulatory proposal regarding the Household Movers Act program. And specifically this is the proposal that would implement permit regulations. I'm also happy to report that the Bureau has completed an initial draft of this proposal, and a copy of the draft is included in the Advisory Council packet starting on page 88. The proposed regulations would establish and clarify the written examination process, the process for abandoned applications, notice requirements in the event of a change in permit holder information or a change in ownership, the process for transfer of permits, and the process for voluntary suspension of permits and restoration. On July 29th, the Bureau circulated a discussion draft to the Advisory Council members for consideration and feedback. Recently, we received feedback from Steve, specifically a request to amend language regarding the transfer of permits. The Bureau met briefly with Steve to discuss and better understand his feedback and concerns. And as we shared with him, the draft is in its earliest state and still required review by our Regulatory Council. We submitted the draft to our Regulatory Council this week, and we will be working with her to address these feedback and concerns. And finally, we have an update on AB 366. At the Advisory Council meeting on May 8th, the Bureau discussed and provided an earlier version of AB 366. This is the bill which proposed to remove a court's discretion to order the installation of an ignition interlock device, and instead mandate the order, including upon first conviction of driving under the influence. AB 366 also proposed to remove the existing law's expiration date of January 1, 2026, and instead extend the law governing IID indefinitely. On August 29th, following an analysis by the Senate Committee on Appropriations, AB 366 was amended to restore the language in existing law that allows a court to exercise discretion about whether or not to order an IID upon a first conviction. AB 366 was also amended to extend the expiration date of January 1, 2026 to January 1, 2033, instead of extending the law indefinitely. The bill with these revisions was signed by the governor on October 13th. And that concludes my presentation. So I now invite any comments from the Advisory Council member in the room.
No comments, just thank you very much for the discussion we had. I appreciate the open dialogue that we shared in that time. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Steve. And I now invite any comments from the advisory council members online.
Yeah, hi, name's Bert Grimes, sorry. Quick question for you. Is there a way that we could get a copy of the revised draft that's been submitted?
So we haven't yet submitted it to our DCA Regulatory Council. So we're still in the process of completing that draft. But what we are considering doing is once after we resubmit the draft to our Regulatory Council and we work with her to update that draft into a more complete version of it, then we are considering sharing that draft with you, Bert, and other members of the Advisory Council, as well as other stakeholders.
Yeah.
Any timeline on that?
I don't have a timeline, except to say that we are aiming to submit the draft to our Regulatory Council this fall. And it would probably take another few months, several months, for us to have a clean version that includes our Regulatory Council's feedback and corrections and any other additional edits that we need to make.
Okay. Well, thank you for all your work on this. I know it's been quite a while. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
I have a question, if I can. Does the Bureau anticipate any need for any regulatory changes to the existing IID regulations pursuant to the passage of AB 366?
No, because it doesn't make any, so the AB 366, the only change that it made that impacts the Bureau is to the section of the law, which is it's section 9801 of the EAR law that's also included in your advisory council packet. And that, nothing has changed in that. The earlier version was going to change the court's discretion, but that was not approved. And so the only change that's being made to that section is really to just extend the expiration date of it to 2033.
Very good. Thank you.
Okay, I'm now going to turn it to Anne for any comments from the public.
And this is the moderator. If anyone would like to make a comment on the legislative updates, you can look for the hand icon and click that. Each speaker will have 3 minutes with a 30-second warning. Are there any comments on the legislative update? I do not see any requests. I will turn the meeting back to you.
Okay, thank you, Eileen. So that brings us to agenda item 13, which is going to be the most fun part of the meeting, to try to find dates that work with everybody's schedule for the 2 meetings in 2026. So on the agenda, I had proposed a couple of dates for May and then for the spring and a couple of dates in the fall. But we included calendars on pages 105 and 106. So maybe I'll just, I'm not even quite sure how to do this. Maybe folks can let me know if May 7th let me try it this way. Does May 7th not work? May 7th of 2026, does that not work for anybody? Does that work for you?
That's the week before our convention. That would be the day to do it. Yeah, the 7th
Okay.
is fine.
May 7th, is that not a good date for anybody online? It's good, okay, so we're gonna do May 7th unless I hear an objection. And then trying to find a date for the fall, we had proposed October 29th or November 5th. So I will just start by asking October 29th, does that not work for anybody?
It doesn't work for me. This is Dan Rhodes. I've got travel on that day. I can do the 5th though. The 5th works for
Okay,
me.
so we'll try November 5th. Does that not work for anybody? No? I feel like I'm in an auction, right? How many times am I supposed to like? Okay, so we're gonna go with November 5th, unless I hear an objection. Really? It was that easy? You guys are being kind. I thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
You should get out the gavel and just going once, going twice, and
I
hammer
know,
it.
that's what I'm looking for. I'm like, can I sell the date? Like, what can I do?
We're gonna have an advisory council meeting in Southern California last year, and that was tabled for, I
Right.
forget why. But we got money. So that continues to exist for 2026.
It probably does, but thank you for reminding me. We can definitely look at it
Okay.
and maybe figure out how we might be able to pull that off. But it definitely is related to the expense. So, but I will make a note. Thank you. Okay. All right. With that, I want to thank everybody for their attendance and their participation. I want to thank all the staff for the great presentations. And we are adjourned.
Did you want to do item 14?
Sure, thank you.
You're
Yes,
welcome.
okay, look at me rushing us out the door. Okay, future agenda items. Does any council member in the room have a future agenda item they'd like to propose? Okay, anybody online? Nope, okay. So Anne, can you open that up for public comment, please, on any future agenda items?
Absolutely. If anyone would like to suggest an item for the next meeting agenda, you may look for the hand icon and click that to raise your hand. Any items to suggest? I do not see any raised hands, so I will turn the meeting back to you.
Okay, thank you so much. Now officially 100%, we are adjourned. Thank you all so